The Cleveland Browns got a very important revenge win yesterday in Baltimore against Baltimore Ravens. They're going to strive for a second revenge win here this Sunday against Pittsburgh Steelers and most likely put themselves in the driving seat for an AFC North title. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things dog pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, 7 seasons now with you all, covering the Browns here for Locked On Browns. And I could not be more thankful for everybody that makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. A lot of traffic over the last 20-something hours or so I appreciate you all. Join the everyday crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Obviously, the aftermath. And I hope everybody's feeling good. Obviously, a crazy Sunday that hopefully led to a great Monday for you all. Cleveland Browns winners yesterday, 33-31 in Baltimore over the Ravens. Obviously, we got to hear from Coach Stefanski today. Deshaun Watson is going to get an MRI on his left ankle, as we all know. Deshaun dinged up on that final drive of the game. Didn't hinder him during that drive. Deshaun, speaking to reporters, says he doesn't believe anything's going to hinder him going into this week. But you do your due diligence and you make sure your quarterback gets his ankle checked. Left the press conference, obviously, with a walking boot. Don't know what to make of that. If you all remember, Jerome Ford left the facility before the Seattle game on a Wednesday in a walking boot and ended up playing in the Seattle game. So a lot of that stuff is just precautionary. Of course, Denzel Ward, freakish dirty play, I should say. And Ronnie Stanley, I'm sure you'll be hearing from the league office later in the week. You can't go taking a head-hunting shot in a play that's basically over. The belief is Denzel Ward is fine. Obviously, neck was a little dinged up from a egregious, terrible play from a 300-pound lineman. And Ronnie Stanley, that's probably what your season's been to this point. You're not playing very well. Don't take cheap shots. Go out there and play the game the way you were taught. And you just don't be doing it. But, whatever. You're going to write that check and you'll answer to the league for your actions. Now you got to get into some accolades here, obviously, from yesterday. I mean, and there were times, obviously, where the chips were down for the Browns. I mean, they were down, offensive tackle wise to begin the game. Jerome Christian actually tested and graded as one of the top 5 offensive performers yesterday for the Browns by PFF. So congratulations, Jerome Christian. I don't know where the future holds, obviously, when Jedrick Wills comes back and, of course, when DeJuan Jones comes back. But Jerome Christian with a huge, huge effort yesterday. Offensively, you can go offensively, you can go defensively. We'll start with Mike Ford Jr. on the defensive side of the ball. And I got to be honest, and you guys had heard me talk last week, I really thought that, when the number was going to come up and if they were going to have to play somebody other than one of their top 3 cornerbacks, I figured A.J. Green was going to get the shot. Greg Newsome got put to the outside, and we'll get to Greg Newsome, of course. But Mike Ford Jr. gets his first career interception. Made the point of telling everybody that that's going to be headed back home to his office. Great momentum for a guy who was brought here with the reputation of being a plus special teamer. But you never know when your number is going to be called. And Mike Ford Jr. out there in a big, big situation, in a big, big ball game, and obviously finding a way to be a huge part of it. And obviously, he was another one of the top graded performers for the Cleveland Browns on the defensive side of the ball. Greg Newsome gave up 1 reception yesterday, had a PBU, obviously had the interception for the pick 6, changed the entire momentum of the game, changed the entire landscape of the game. And for a guy who's been through a lot here, Greg Newsome had a solid rookie year for this team. Browns went and drafted Martin Emerson the next year, and it wasn't a knock on anybody. The Browns were just trying to get as deep at the cornerback position as they were. Knocked one out of the park with the drafting of Martin Emerson Jr. You started having Greg Newsome play more slot. Whether or not Greg's thrilled with that. And there's been rumblings that maybe it's not his preferred place, but at the end of the day, on a great team, guys just want to play. So if you got to play somewhere other than where you feel most comfortable, you just want to be out there playing with a bunch of ballers like this team currently constructed is. As we all know, Denzel left the game early, which put Greg Newsome on the outside. And again, when that ball went in the air, just like it did against the Seattle Seahawks, just like it did last week against the Arizona Cardinals, it feels like that ball is in the air for eternity. Everything just broke right for Greg Newsome. He had the easiest path to the ball. He was coming at, absolutely top momentum. So G knew Greg Newsome obviously intercepts it, takes it down the sideline, takes it to the house. And that was the one where you really, really felt that, it was going to go the Browns' way, like it ended up actually going yesterday. Jerome Ford, dig a little deeper in, and Jerome Ford's on pace for 1,000 yards, well over 500 yards. And you talk about, when Jerome Ford was first drafted, now not this past spring, the spring before, this was a team that had already had Nick Chubb, had already had Kareem Hunt, had already had Dearness Johnson. We fell in love with Jerome Ford the summer of 2022, had no idea when we were actually going to see him, got limited reps his rookie year. And then, of course, Week 2, Pittsburgh Steelers, Jerome Ford, sitting there as Nick Chubb goes down. And if everybody remembers, it was just, a rough time for the team, obviously the fandom. But yet the Browns were still in position to score a touchdown. Jerome Ford comes in, finishes that drive, gets the 2-point conversion. Jerome Ford with a big 69-yard run later in that game. And now here you look at this guy, Jerome Ford, whose path here maybe 18 months ago seemed blocked for playing time. He had no idea where his playing time was going to come from. For right now, he is the lead back for this team. They run the ball extremely well. Jerome Ford has just looked really, really more confident. And I've talked about the past about sometimes he gets caught between patience and just taking the daylight and going. I think Jerome Ford ran with a lot more conviction yesterday, ran with better pad level through contact. Him and Patrick Queen had a couple of tay-to-tays, one-on-ones, and Jerome Ford didn't give up an ounce. Jerome Ford is really, really rounding out nicely, for the Cleveland Browns here. And the Browns needed certainly some stability and somebody they can count on to be a lead back here. Kareem, for all that he's doing, and I do not want to take anything away from Kareem Hunt, and I think it's now 5 touchdowns. He's had 5 games in a row that he scored a touchdown. He's just not got the body to be a workhorse back anymore. And, even still, as much as effective as he's been this year, there probably is a lost step. But Jerome Ford has been outstanding. Browns are going to need him down the stretch as, the weather starts to turn a little bit. The Browns are going to play some lesser competition. They should be in situations where they have the lead late in games that are going to need to close that out. But some guys that I felt truly to have, basically their names mentioned and, and attaboys and kudos for what they did yesterday. It's nice when you have a team that's as good as this team is, as deep as this team is, as talented as this team is, and you get some feel-good stories. You get some guys to step up and get an opportunity who maybe you weren't, expecting to. Jerome Ford, obviously Mike Ford, of course, like Greg Newsome. These guys were all big contributors yesterday. Of course, also Jaron Christian and, of course, James Hudson putting, basically no choice but putting to the line of the duty. We're going to switch it up here. We're going to continue rolling on here, your latest Locked On Browns, and I appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jase case is fill out a simple online form, and in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of our onboard certified physicians. Get ongoing care from our physicians or any treatment-related questions. Doctor-created, doctor-recommended. Look, we've talked about the Jase case before. You can get 5 antibiotics, kills most infections. It's great if you have to travel. It'd be great if, God forbid, we end up in another lockdown. Nobody wants to be like that. I certainly don't want to be like that, but obviously you want to be prepared if you can. Let's be serious here for a minute. We spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts us and who sits, and I'm thankful for the connection that we all have. And today, I want our chat to be a little bit more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means? Bring on extended travel, possibly bring on a pandemic. you're covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, Revisio prescription. And this is possible because of our friends at Jase Medical. Go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. There were customers who were so nervous about this. They were cutting pills in half just to make sure they had it. The antibiotic kit now makes everybody feel secure. The prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love can get some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily med, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. So remember to use the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off at purchase. We continue on here, your latest Locked On Browns. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. Of course, I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. A lot of action, a lot of traction here for the Locked On Browns podcast over the last 24 hours. So obviously, if you're all new here, I suggest you stick around. I suggest you join the everyday crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Of course, Locked On Browns is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. There's been a lot of talk, obviously. Heck, it's been since they've been here about just how successful and what exactly Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have been doing in their time here. This year in their fourth season, this is the most talented roster they've had in the 4 years they've been here. Keep in mind, this is doing it without a first-round pick. This is, well, they didn't even have a second-round pick this year. But you move the second-round pick for Elijah Moore, obviously, and traded, obviously, and got a pick back, which ended up being Cedric Tillman. But the thing is, what they're doing and the quality of people they bring in here. People want to talk about, their offensive line, their running game, and the running game has been outstanding the last few weeks. And the running game, for where it is right now, compared to where it should be or where most people thought it would be with the loss of Nick Chubb, comes from having a guy like Bill Callahan around. Well, you want to know what? You want to judge Andrew Berry. You want to judge, of course, Kevin Stefanski. They were the guys that brought Bill Callahan in. So you have questions about things like this, and you want to judge what they do and what they don't do. And if everybody's run them out, you have guys in here like Bill Callahan. You brought in Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz didn't come running to Cleveland because he saw the tape of the 2022 Cleveland Browns defense and said, oh, yeah, I'm all in. But you want to know what? You got him here. You worked with him. You said, what are the players you're looking for? Give us some of the type of the guys that you're looking for. You need players to do X, Y, and Z. Let us know what that is. And that turns into a haul of Dalvin Tomlinson, Juan Thornhill, Ogbenaya Okoronkwo, Zadarius Smith, Shelby Harris, Maurice Hurst, Rodney McLeod. You bring all these guys in here. And yes, it's definitely turned into one of the best defenses in the league. And would they be a great defense without Jim Schwartz? Certainly possible. The talent is there. But everything is meshing well together. Again, credit to the head coach and credit to the general manager. They are the ones making these moves. But talent is one thing. And there are a lot of talented football players in the NFL who have never tasted a drop of success. There have been a lot of talented teams on paper in the NFL that have never tasted success. The thing is getting the right blend of talent and having the talent believe in each other, believe in the coaching staff, believe in the front office, believe in even ownership. When you get all that working together, you get something special, which it feels like the Cleveland Browns have going on right now. You go to, and there's obviously several instances you can take from yesterday's Ravens game. Dustin Hopkins obviously misses the extra point after the Greg Newsome interception. Probably felt about that big at that moment. And you see Anthony Walker, and you see Grant Delpit, and you see a whole bunch of other defensive players come over, pick their kicker up, and essentially tell him, don't worry about it. You're going to get another shot at this. and basically putting themselves on the line for him and letting him know he's going to get another opportunity. That is team unity over talent. I'll take talent is fantastic. Everybody wants talent, but it's very, very hard to get talent to play together, especially when everybody starts making a lot of money. Sometimes the money gets in the way, and the belief and the vision and what is the overall concept of what is supposed to be done day to day for a team to succeed. And the Browns have not missed that. They did not miss that part of roster resemblance. You see Dalvin Tomlinson always joking with the guys. We've seen some of these guys on defense bring out a side of Myles Garrett we haven't seen, and this is now Myles' 7th season with the Cleveland Browns. They've got him loose. They've got him laughing. Myles always been a laid-back guy. But as far as just, being a guy who's cutting it up, having fun with his teammates, it's kind of more like these guys are playing football, and the money aspect isn't there right now. Yes, they're all making money. We all know that. But they're all just out there each week giving it because that's how much they appreciate the guys they're playing with. That's how much they enjoy doing this with the guys. And then there is the winning becomes infectious, and it gets in you, and you want success. You crave success. You get disappointed when you fall short of success. And you get, that game yesterday against the Baltimore Ravens. And obviously this Pittsburgh Steelers game coming up on Sunday. And you want to talk about a team that somehow is 6-3 and just winning absolutely disgustingly ugly. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers to the letter. This team, they're not going to come in and run for 200 yards in the Cleveland Browns. And if they're only going to throw for 130, you might as well not even pack that bus. But that's another story for later into the week. But it takes such an effort to put together a team of talented players, but unselfish guys, team-first guys. And that is truly the case right now for what is going on with the Browns and what they've assembled. They understand what the common goal is. And for the first time that I've ever covered this franchise, I truly believe that everybody's on the same page. I truly believe that everybody looks out for everybody else. A Denzel Ward goes out, and Mike Ford comes in. Juan Thornhill comes out, D'Anthony Bell comes in. Rodney McLeod comes in. Nobody is bigger than the role they have, or they act like it. They go out and they give everything they got. If you remember last year, we had a certain defensive end who told his defensive coordinator, "I'm good. I'm only going to play on third downs." Imagine that. Imagine having that personality like that on this year's Cleveland Browns defense. These guys don't want to come off the field. But when they do, I'll come off. Because he'll sack you just like good as I would. So you were getting an absolute monster effort from these guys. And it's really, really great to see. I mean, you go to Jaron Christian, obviously, and you go to James Hudson yesterday, and there was so much talk. How are the Browns going to win a game with the 4th and 5th offensive tag? How? You run the football. Because you want to know why? That's the easiest part for any offensive lineman. Don't put them in a position where you're banking on these guys to have to block the Baltimore Ravens front four, which is a solid front four. It has been amazing to see what this team has done through their first 9 games, and I'm excited for the next 8 because I really think this team is starting to hit their groove. And as far as unity and being there for each other and looking out for each other, the potential for this team to just get better over the next 8 games just continues to grow, in my opinion. I am Jeff Lloyd. We're going to get back. We're going to get to segment 3. Appreciate everybody for sticking along for the ride. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. And of course, I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen. The everyday crowd, that number just keeps going up. Don't miss the boat. Get in on the party by joining the everyday crowd and subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Locked On Browns, always available, always free, wherever you get your podcast. Now, I begun the show by talking about the Cleveland Browns have probably given themselves an opportunity to put themselves in a driver's seat if they can pull out this Pittsburgh Steelers game on Sunday. Just so everybody kind of understands where we're at here, obviously the Baltimore Ravens have one less game than everybody else in the division. Big one for the Ravens Thursday night. Several injuries for them from this game yesterday against the Browns. They play Thursday night against the Bengals. Then a trip to the LA Chargers. Home for the Los Angeles Rams. At the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Jacksonville could be key here in the AFC North. They still play Baltimore. They still play the Browns, obviously, and they still play the Cincinnati Bengals. After their trip to Jacksonville, Baltimore travels to San Francisco. San Francisco seems back on stride after a big win yesterday over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then the Ravens close out the season at home to the Miami Dolphins and at home to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Browns only have 2 division games left. Everybody else has got a bunch. So there's going to be some attrition here. Some of these guys are going to lose division games. It's just the way it goes. The Bengals have Baltimore Thursday night. Still have both Pittsburgh games left. So they're at Baltimore, home for Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville Jaguars. Then they're home for the Colts, home for the Vikings, who all of a sudden are one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Then they are at Pittsburgh. Oh, yeah, for Cincinnati, at the Kansas City Chiefs. And, of course, Week 18, Browns, Bengals in Cincinnati. Pittsburgh Steelers, as we all know, Sunday they come to Cleveland. And we're going to get to that as this week goes on. But right after that, they're on the road going to Cincinnati. Home game against the Cardinals, which all of a sudden now have Kyler Murray. It's a whole different ball game than a home game against the New England Patriots. And it just looks like that's all done. And, you know, if I'm Bill Belichick, I'd just resign. Bill, just walk away. Do something different. You know, do what you want to do with the rest of your life. Then Pittsburgh goes to the Colts. Then Pittsburgh obviously has Cincinnati. Then Pittsburgh makes a trip to Seattle and a trip to Baltimore to close out the 2023 season. We'll see if the Pittsburgh Steelers can keep up this recipe of winning ugly. I think eventually, you know, the Breaks are going to beat the boys, and this is going to catch up to the Pittsburgh Steelers pretty soon. And for your Cleveland Browns, of course, Sunday at home, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Road trip to Denver for the Broncos. Look, the Broncos are playing better. Ain't nothing about the Broncos scares me yet. No. Trip to Los Angeles for the Rams. Not sure what's going on with the Rams. Matthew Stafford probably getting healthy. Should be back by then. We'll see. Home for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Home for the Chicago Bears. Houston Texans. Home for the New York Jets. Who even knows who the quarterback will be then? And on the road in Week 18 at Cincinnati. The Browns can pull this one off at home on Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers like I think they're capable of doing. Browns might very well be in the driver's seat here. They have an opportunity to go 4-2 in the division. Like I said, Baltimore still has 2 division games left. They've already played their 2 with the Browns. Obviously have Cincinnati and the Pittsburgh Steelers left. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati still have both games against each other and still have a game left each against the Ravens and, of course, the Cleveland Browns. Could be getting late early for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Whereas the Browns of Baltimore, and again, the advantage of the Baltimore Ravens here, they already have that, 1 game up, still have the bye here. So they have the 1 game lead on everybody. But this is the path that's there now for the Browns. And keep in mind all the quibbling and crying we were doing a month ago, 5 weeks ago, the first Raven game. What do you mean Deshaun can't play? What do you mean David Njoku got burned? And they got boat raced at home to the Baltimore Ravens. And then all of a sudden, things started to get a little bit better. Then you lost a game in Seattle that you shouldn't have lost. But over the last 5 games, Cleveland Browns are 4-1. And they look good. Defense is clicking. Offense, you've found a way to incorporate the running game from the shotgun formation, which makes Deshaun Watson's life a lot easier. It's just a preference for Deshaun. It just works better for Deshaun from the shotgun. And you know what? Jerome Ford, it works well for him. You can still go under center, do your tough, short, pound of running plays with Kareem Hunt. But for Jerome Ford, he's found a way to run well out of the gun here. And it's not that surprising. Jerome Ford, from college football, almost everybody goes out of the gun. So not that foreign a concept for Jerome Ford, but finding a way to get everybody incorporated and everybody, in spots that they're comfortable. And it's really, really worked for the Browns. I'm really excited about the week that's coming ahead. And again, Browns are 4-5 over their last 5 with a home game against Pittsburgh that looks very, very winnable. We're going to get to covering all of that. We're going to break it all down this week. I'm excited. I know all of you are excited. You guys got to check out the Locked On Sports YouTube channel 24/7. We got shows running all day long. Football, basketball, baseball, you name it. Locked On Sports YouTube channel is just hot right now, and I mean white hot. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. It's now my 7th season, and I appreciate you guys. I do. I've been having a blast here. Slow start, obviously, in 2017. 2018 was fun. 2019 felt like Charlie Brown having the ball taken away from him by Lucy. 2020 playoffs. 2021 falling all apart. 2022 no Deshaun for more than half the season. But this team is right where it wants to be, right where it needs to be. I'm excited. I know you fans are excited. I appreciate you all for making Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Join the everyday crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And, of course, the show is always available, always free, wherever you get your audio podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go, Browns.